everybody, welcome back to our second episode of Gratefully Inconvenienced. You came back. That means I didn't scare you away. Fingers crossed you are loving the content. This is definitely a new realm for me, but I am going to try my best to be consistent and make sure that I am sticking to my word and I'm uploading videos at least a few times every week for you guys. So if you are new here, just to get you caught up, last episode we were talking about pretty much our call to action. We talked a little bit about our origin story, and I felt that gracefully tied into this call to action towards us embarking on a journey of growth and self-improvement, just reclaiming our joy in this lifetime. And so I felt inspired to focus this episode on how we can set ourselves up to be able to do that. It's a lot easier said than done, and I don't think it's fair for me to share this information with you and then gatekeep how I was able to get here. I don't mean arrived, okay, because this is an ongoing journey of building ourselves out of one day what will be our testimony. And so it's work, and I'm on this journey with you, and that's the motivating factor as to why I continue to make these videos and share these things with you. During that transitional period of my life, it was a time where I would have appreciated having somebody being open and transparent about their personal journey as it relates to mine. So here we are. But anyways, today I want to talk about structure. I want to talk about non-negotiables and all of these elements that will help us to build a foundation of self-discipline. I feel like that's really important and imperative to have if you are choosing to dive into some internal work, because the external work can be done, but with that comes the internal work. And so us having that foundation will be able to aid us in seeing success in both of those areas of our life. So let's get into the episode. So first, just to reiterate, today's topic is going to be focused on the non-negotiables and helping us to build consistency and self-discipline. How did I even realize that structure was important? So if you know me, you know that a lot of my past experience and current experience has been working with kids. And working with kids will teach you a lot about yourself. That's for sure. But if I'm still doing it today, I clearly have a love and a passion for it. But one thing that working with children has taught me is the importance of structure. The most difficult groups to be able to regulate were the groups that lacked a routine. And so I really was intentional moving forward about creating a routine that would foster the kind of environment where it would be easier to regulate behavioral issues or even academic difficulties that a lot of students face in the classroom, just because there may be a lot going on. And without structure, you have scatterbrain. What I also learned is how it is equally important to adults, to all human beings, to have structure. An easy example is to think about the world and our country, and if we didn't have laws. Despite the many inadequacies we may find in these laws, which is a conversation for a different day, we have them, and without them we'd be purging, we'd be lost, we'd feel like we didn't have a purpose, a responsibility, a role in society. And so realizing that when I would assign roles to some of my students, it would give them a sense of importance, and they would have this sense of responsibility that if she gave this task to me, then I'm the only person who is going to be able to get it done. So that really resonated with me, and it made me realize that us as human beings, we are doers. We are constantly looking for something to do, a task, something to accomplish. We really get off on positive reinforcement and looking at something that we did and being like, wow, that's great. I did a good job. And other than being at work or being in that kind of setting where you have an agenda or somebody is telling you what you need to do on a daily basis, if we're not in that space, then we're the only person left in charge of reinforcing those responsibilities. And that is pretty much the definition of self-discipline, when you're able to rely on yourself for structure throughout your daily life. And so once I came to that realization, it brought me to a point where I needed to create that. And that is what was the catalyst for these 5 non-negotiables that I came up with. So I curated a list. I thought about, what does my daily routine look like every day, and what are some things that I can't go without. And so I came up with 5 non-negotiables that, again, like we talked about in the first episode, we are not perfect beings. We're not meant to be perfect. We don't strive for perfection. We leave that to our Creator. But ultimately, the main goal from these non-negotiables is to not try and do all of them. And if you miss one, now you're punishing yourself. It's just a list of things that if you take at least one of these things and you label it as a non-negotiable, naturally the rest of them will follow. And so if you go one day with only prioritizing 3 out of the 5 non-negotiables, you still stuck to your plan. You still were able to fulfill that void of self-discipline in some form or fashion. And ultimately, that's the goal. We just want to make sure that we are prioritizing ourselves. And so if you do 1 out of the 5 things on that list, then that proves that you did for that day. So we're going to go ahead and get into the very first one, our morning rituals. As soon as we open our eyes to a new day, we have some responsibilities. I definitely consider my morning to be the most important part of my day. I think I put the most intention, if anything, in my morning rituals, because I know that that is going to set the tone for the rest of my day. And so one of my self-care / preparational activities that I like to do in the morning is move my body. Thinking about how long our body lays dormant while we're asleep makes me want to just get up and move. And so I definitely have to dedicate at least a half hour to some stretching or a light workout session. Although I typically do appreciate a nice intense workout, I don't necessarily like to partake in that in the mornings, especially if I have a packed day full of responsibilities and low and high performing tasks. I really like to preserve my energy, and so if you're like me and you like a nice intense workout every now and then, I would definitely suggest saving that for the end of the day, so that way you don't have to worry about anything other than going to bed after that workout is over. Just a little piece of advice, but to each his own. Everybody's different. Another thing that I like to do, I actually start my morning with this rather than moving around, is journaling. I like to get things off my chest in the morning to reflect on what it is that I want to accomplish that day. I also do 5 minutes of meditation, and it's not like that kind of meditation, which is fine. If you want to do that, all you. But it's simply just me sitting and doing nothing for 5 minutes. I think we owe that to ourselves, because one day I had to ask myself, when do I just sit and do nothing? I could not answer that question, so I needed to make it happen. So my meditation is just me sitting in silence and doing absolutely nothing for 5 minutes. And I do that right after I journal for however long I decide to. And then after that, I find time for my affirmations. And I feel like the affirmations just bring everything in that morning routine full circle. You do your movement, you do your journaling, you have a little bit of meditation, and then you have your affirmations. The affirmations, to me, they just reinforce everything that it is that you set out to do. It's just like, you want to record a video today and type up a blog. You are capable of doing anything. You are more than capable of doing anything that you set out to do for the day. That's just an example. It's a motivating factor. They're affirmative reminders that we are capable. And so my affirmations bring everything together, and that pretty much sums up my initial on the wake up morning routine. So that's my first non-negotiable, or I would say that's my first bunch of non-negotiables that I try my best to incorporate in my morning routine. Number 2, nourishing your body. I've got to say, this might be my favorite one. I don't know if it's because I'm a foodie, I'm a little biased, I'm a breakfast person. I know a lot of people who are not breakfast people. And so honestly, I enjoy this part of knocking out these non-negotiables. A good breakfast. Now, sometimes, depending on what I have going on throughout the day and how my day is set up, breakfast might look a little differently. And obviously, if you have a dietary restriction, or if you're committed to a certain dietary lifestyle, then your breakfast might look different. But I just don't ever recommend going without breakfast. I think it's important to feed our body. Once again, we were asleep for hours without food, and this is our first meal of the day. This is the fuel for the brain. If we want to accomplish anything and we're relying on our body to help us do that, then we have to feed it. We have to nourish it. And so breakfast is extremely important. And that could look differently for you. It could be a fruit-based breakfast. It could be a protein shake. It could be a smoothie. Depending on your routine, and maybe your morning routine being one that tends to go a little longer, maybe you want an on-the-go breakfast. Something you can just grab and take with you. So it really just depends. And sometimes I like to do the on-the-go. Like I said, depending on my routine for the day, I don't ever want breakfast to feel like a task that slows me down just because it's going to require a little bit of preparation. So once again, find something that's tailored to what it is that you need the most and go with that. So nourishing our body, breakfast, that's key. Another reason why I find breakfast to be so important is because I have vitamins and supplements that I take daily, and it just makes me more comfortable knowing that there's food in my stomach before I consume that. And I know sometimes, depending on what it is that you take, it may say that having a meal isn't necessary, but it's just something that I always recommend, because once again, our bodies are different from each other, and I don't ever like to take that chance. I don't want to be out for the count before my day even gets started. So definitely important to have a meal before taking my vitamins and supplements for the day. Now, lastly, we talked about breakfast. We talked about our vitamins and our supplements. Of course, we have one last one to bring it all together, and that is drinking water. Believe it or not, there are some people out here, and you might be one of those people watching this right now, who claims they don't drink water. They don't need water. Ultimately, that is going to catch up to you. I've literally seen it with my own eyes with people who I know, and it's not fun. So don't be that person to punish your body because of something you don't want to do, despite knowing dog and well that you need to drink water and choosing not to do it. Let's take some initiative here. Drink your water. And again, that could be something that subconsciously you don't even realize that you're neglecting yourself of throughout the day. But what helps me is having my reusable water bottle with me all the time in front of my face, so that way I don't forget and I just take sips from it throughout the day and I get my daily dose that I need. So stay hydrated. Looking out for my sisters out here, especially as women, it is so important because we are literally built from the inside out. And so water is just another form of a cleanse that our body deserves. Number 3, time management. This category right here was not too long ago my worst enemy. I will say I have always struggled with time management. And if any of my close friends are watching this video, I know they're laughing at me right now because they know. If anybody knows, they know. Granted, we have all been in a place where that was not our forte, but I was the one that took much longer to get on board with my punctuality. Now, I consider this category to be my best friend because it has totally improved my time management skills and just my overall consciousness and sensitivity to my time as well as the time of others. One thing that has definitely assisted me in being more organized when it comes to managing my time throughout the day are productivity apps. I don't know why it took me so long to utilize these free apps that we have on our phones that we're on all day. But I guess just the thought of putting energy into it discouraged me at the time. But now I'm just like, oh my gosh, my Google Calendar, a lifesaver. Especially knowing the kind of person that I am. I am definitely scatterbrained. I make lists for everything. If you looked at my notes, you'd be really confused and probably concerned. But especially right now in my life, I'm in a transitional period of my life where I'm pursuing a different career, and so that has me starting from scratch and filling out applications and interviewing and doing all these things, and it's hard to keep track of a lot of that, but not anymore because my Google Calendar saves the day. So I use it for work-related things as well as my personal responsibilities all in one. Just put it all in there. It's really helpful. Scheduling reminders on my phone, lists that look like this, like the old school notepads. This is my thing, so those I still utilize. And I also have friends who use digital or physical planners, which seem to be really helpful to them. So you just have to find what works for you, but finding a resource and utilizing a tool will really set you up for success throughout your day, and you won't find yourself spending so much time on things that don't deserve all of that time being invested into them, and you can distribute your time and energy in a way where you can give everything what it deserves. And so those are some of the tools that I use. Now, another resource that I have invested in is a bulletin board because I wanted to be able to wake up and see my goals and see what it is that I'm working towards every single day. So I do have a bulletin board in my room, and it has all of my short-term goals on it, as well as different upcoming activities or projects that I have for that week. And once again, this is just helpful because it plants the seed in my brain and reminds me what it is that I am working towards, what it is that I am implementing all these changes for. So it's really helpful as well. Lastly, something that I've done, and I've also witnessed a lot of friends do this as well, is time restrictions. Putting time blocks on your social media apps, because it can just get ridiculous. And I'm the kind of person that will easily get overstimulated by doom scrolling, what they call it, and not realizing that I was doing that for so long. You know what I mean? So I go out of my way to put restrictions on my social media accounts, because not only will it just remind me if I try to go into it that maybe I should wait a few minutes, but it'll also stop notifications from coming through on my phone and distracting me while I'm in the thick of it. So that has been really helpful to me, because once again, if you're somebody with a short attention span and you're easily distracted, this can be really helpful to you. So I would definitely recommend all of those things, whether it is a productivity app, making a list, restricting yourself of phone time, even TV time. Implementing these different strategies can definitely help to improve your overall productivity for the day. Number 4, breaks and self-care. So mind you, when I first started with this, I really officially only had 4 non-negotiable areas, but I added this one in because I felt like I was neglecting this part. And it's actually crazy because lately I felt like that I was really neglecting this area and not giving myself adequate breaks throughout the day because I'm so tunnel vision. So it really felt good revisiting these principles, because I had to remind myself, slow down, take a break. So like I said, this might be the most overlooked area by a lot of people, and so I thought it would be useful to include it as a non-negotiable so that we can prioritize giving ourselves a break throughout the day. It's easy to get burnt out. A lot of us are in grind mode. We don't even realize that we haven't eaten. It'll be hours that have gone by and we didn't realize that we didn't even have a meal yet. Despite us women being the superhumans that we gracefully intend to be and are, taking breaks is extremely important for our mental and emotional and physical health. So whether that's you pulling out a book, going outside, getting some fresh air, sitting for 5 minutes and doing absolutely nothing, resting your eyes, whatever it is so important. Especially considering what we just talked about when it comes to screen time. I don't think we realize how exhausting it is to stare at a screen constantly. Our phones, our computers, it pulls from us. And we don't really realize it until it's time to get things done or wind down for the day. And we're like, wow, I am beat. So ultimately, it's just super important for us to relieve ourselves of that, and to remember that whatever it is that we are habitually exhausting ourselves over, if we are not well, it won't get done. And so we have to cater to the doer. We are the doer, and we can't make the magic happen if we're not equipped to do so. Last but not least, number 5, our 5th area of non-negotiables is going to be our evening reflection. Here lies the most important break of them all that we take during the day. So after hours of exhausting our social battery, because honestly that's probably the first to go for me personally. So after hours of indulging in all of that activity, this is a time for us to have some peace and quiet, to have some alone time, some wind down time, whether that is with a literal glass of wine or a nice bath or a hot shower. However that time looks for you, That's what we want to prioritize. Whatever it is that you choose to do, that will be your transition out of the hustle and bustle of your day. Now, occasionally, this might be the time where I might want a little bit of screen time and put on my favorite show for an hour. I try not to watch a lot of TV during the week. However, I do love a good meal and a good episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit. So it's like I said, these 5 areas of non-negotiables exist, but you do not have to be perfect in them. You can dibble and dabble and find those pockets of joy and those moments that you may look forward to and indulge in those. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. One of the main things that I do at the end of my day, typically right before I go to bed, is I try to refrain from any social media for at least an hour before bed. So my goal is to, because I used to do this all the time. I used to just scroll and be on socials and Instagram until I realized what is really the point of doing that right before I go to sleep. Because I felt really tired getting into bed, but as soon as I open my phone and get on TikTok, I'm up. And I didn't like that because I'm already a night owl and melatonin gummies and me are like this, so I didn't need any other excuse for me to stay up at night. So I try to refrain from any social media at least an hour before bed, and typically I once again have a journaling session before bed just to recap my day, just to write down all of the things that I accomplished, all of the things that I crossed off of my list. We all know the feeling of crossing something off your list. It's the best feeling ever. Yes, I got this done. So I like to do that at the end of the day. I also like to reflect on areas of improvement. If there was something that I missed that I actually wanted to get done that day, I'm gonna write it down and I'm gonna unpack it and I'm going to push it into the next day. And that kind of goes into my planning. While I journal, I also take time to plan for the following day so that I can just ease into the day tomorrow and already anticipate what it is that I want to get done. So for this last area of non-negotiables, when it comes to winding down our day, try to utilize that time to indulge in some quieter activities that will ultimately set you up for success the following day. In conclusion, reflecting on these 5 areas of non-negotiables can really aid in our journey to a self-disciplined lifestyle. Once we commit ourselves and once we take control of these great habits and begin treating them as not something that we should do, but something that we will do and we set out to do, we will be just steps away from residual peace and overall self-improvement. So that is our topic for today. Once again, I really wanted this episode to focus on laying that foundation for us to catapult ourselves into this call to action of us reclaiming our lives entirely. And so we're just taking it one building block at a time. And once again, we're on this journey together. And I think that makes it even more special and even more moving to know that there is a force of like-minded, soul-driven women who are embarking on this with you. If this is your first video, it was so nice chatting with you guys again today. I really hope that there was something that you could take away from this episode, whether that was just a helpful reminder or something that you actually plan on incorporating into your day. That is the ultimate goal here. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone you love. And I will see you guys on our next episode. Peace and love.